welcome to my kitchen. Tonight is New Year's Eve and I'm making oyster stew. This was a family favorite when I was growing up. My father loved it. My mother didn't care for it so much. She would just sip the broth. But what's interesting about that is it doesn't sound much like a Minnesota kind of food or tradition, and I really don't know where it came from or how it came up through Iowa and then Minnesota, because our family came originally from Iowa, and I think my father's family in Iowa first, for us, started serving oyster stew. We served it in Minnesota, and so did several other families that lived in the central Minnesota area that we did. So for whatever that's worth, oyster stew is what I'm making tonight. And I haven't made it in a long time. I printed off a quick recipe, but this is exactly the way my mother made it. I'll be using canned oysters. We didn't have fresh when I was growing up. You could use fresh. This is an 8-ounce can of fresh oysters. So let's get started. I will heat up this pan and get it going. I have a quarter of a cup of butter. Now I'm making a small batch. It's just my husband and myself at home here tonight, so we don't need a large batch of soup. This will maybe make 2 or 3 large bowls, a few cups of soup to use, and I think that's the best way it should be served, as an appetizer soup or first course soup. So let's get this heating up. This is heating up quickly, and just turn it down just a little. Melt that just ever so much more. And I have a half a cup of finely chopped celery and a couple of tablespoons of finely chopped onion. Nothing too complicated. And we will cook these until they're getting tender. This may take a minute or two. I think this is ready. Now I'm going to put the oysters and their liqueur into the pot. Ooh, those are nice big ones. And we'll heat this up. This soup doesn't take very long. Put a little bit of salt, fresh ground black pepper. You could use white pepper. It might be nice for this soup. We never had that on the farm. Get this so that they are heated through. Just until the oysters start curling around the edges, the little black edges start to curl. Actually, that's really only true if you're using fresh oysters. But I can see here now the liqueur has mixed with the butter, and the juice in here now is getting a little milkier looking. And that's the way this should look. Okay, then I'll use a pint of half and half. Pour this in here. Now we'll turn this down. I don't really want to boil this. I just want to get it hot and let the flavors marry. you do want the soup to be piping hot when you serve it. Now, I maybe would add a tablespoon of chopped parsley. I think I'll do that right before I serve. It's a very, very simple soup. Now let's take a look at these soups. I might like to just tap a little bit of paprika. Just for a little bit of color. Something green. And oyster crackers are commonly used on the farm. Our family used saltines. What I'm doing today are some handmade croutons. They look lovely. And if you're gluten-free, no worries. Why don't you try some of these gluten-free? They're called, I think the brand name is G-Free. Crispy, crispy pretzels. They are wonderful in this soup. Happy New Year.